June 1978. I was 7 years old in second grade. Grease was released that month, I believe on the 24th of June. And of course, I wanted to go see that movie more than anything. I was a huge John Travolta fan, thanks to his time on Welcome Back, Kotter. And with him being in a brand new movie, and the movie looked like so much fun from the commercials and the promos that I saw for it, I just really wanted to go and see that movie. So I begged my mom to take me to see it. And she, was like, Grease, what kind of movie is that? And I really didn't know how to explain it to her too well. But when she saw one of the promos on TV for it, she kind of got a little interested in it herself. And so we went and we, saw it. And we took the city bus one Saturday afternoon. We ended up getting there late, unfortunately. And we got there right during Greased Lightning, that part of the movie. And so we stayed over and we watched it until it ended. And of course, the movie theater was packed. I mean, there were so many people there to see that movie. We had to sit separately. We sat on the same row, but we had to sit a couple of seats apart because so many people were there to see Grease. So she said, well, let's just stay over and see what we missed, and then we'll go ahead and leave. And actually, we needed to go ahead and leave because the last bus was going to be running that night, and had we missed it, we would have to have caught a cab. So I said, yeah, sure. And, we stayed through, we caught up with what we had missed, and we just couldn't leave. We just had to stay and see it through all over again. And, we took the chance of missing that last bus. Fortunately, we did not, because it was a little bit late. And that was my introduction to not only Grease, but Olivia Newton-John. I really had not heard of her very much, or at least I hadn't paid her a lot of attention prior to seeing her in Grease as Sandy. But I absolutely fell in love with her in Grease. I thought that she was absolutely just so pretty, and she could sing, and she was just perfect. She was the perfect woman to portray opposite John Travolta as Sandy. I mean, they were talking initially about Linda Ronstadt, and then they wanted Marie Osmond, but John Travolta was really pushing for Olivia Newton-John. She didn't think that it was going to necessarily be a good fit for her, but, he was right. He was on point in his assessment about that. She was perfect in Grease, and I absolutely adored everything about her. And so many of my earliest memories, my childhood memories involve Olivia Newton-John, beginning with that day in June of 1978. Thank you for joining us for Two Sisters on a TV today, the Classic TV podcast. We remember and talk about all things classic TV. And of course, we're talking about Olivia Newton-John and the effect that she has had upon our lives. And that effect, for me, has been going on for the past 44 years. I became a Grease fanatic after we saw the movie. I mean, Grease was so popular. It was the biggest movie of 1978, and they kept re-releasing it in the theaters. Every time when they re-release it, we go see it. I don't know how many times I've seen Grease in the past 44 years. I honestly cannot even make an estimate of that. But I wanted everything of Grease. And my mom was, very, very generous, very supportive in that. She fell in love with the movie too, of course. So I had a couple of Grease t-shirts. I had the Grease album, which was the first album I ever bought with my own money. I had the photo play book. At the book fair at school, Grease items were everywhere. I mean, those were the big sellers of the book fair. And there was a photo play book available. It was a little pocket-sized book, and it was basically all the whole movie in pictures and with captions. And it was the most popular item at the book fair. I unfortunately lost the book somewhere over the years, but I bought it again just last year on eBay. It was only about $10 or $12. And so I have my little book again, and I really treasure having that book again all the more now. But I remember being so excited to buy the Grease album. We went to the department store. I had my little purse. I had my money. And that was the first album that I ever bought. And, of course, like I said, I had a Grease puzzle. And, I mean, I had all kinds of Grease memorabilia. And like I said, that movie is still, after all the movies I've seen since that time, it's still my favorite. That has definitely not changed. And Olivia Newton-John had a lot to do with that. Now, contrary to popular belief, Grease did not make her a star. It made her a bigger star, but she was a star before Grease even came into being, when it was, before it became a movie. She had a very successful singing career. Some of her biggest songs were Have You Ever Been Mellow? I Honestly Love You, Please Mr. Please, If Not For You, Let Me Be There. I mean, her specials on ABC in 1976 and 1977, very successful. And they're on YouTube, if you want to check them out. They're on YouTube in their entirety. And so she was already a big star at that time. And, of course, like I said, Grease made her an even bigger star. And one thing I forgot to mention, my mom was in graduate school at the time. And there was a bookstore on campus. And there was this, you could have your own t-shirts made. And so if you go to Instagram and you look at John Travolta's post about Olivia that he posted yesterday, you'll see her picture. It's from one of her album covers. And so we placed that picture on a t-shirt. It was a white t-shirt trimmed in red. And my name was on the back of the shirt. And I got that shirt in the summer of 1979 at the bookstore, the college bookstore. And I wore that shirt until I outgrew it. I loved my Olivia Newton-John t-shirt. Meant everything to me. After, of course, Grease, she went on to star in Xanadu. She had a big hit with, Magic in 1980. Suddenly with Cliff Richard, that was around 1979, 1980. Of course, Physical was a huge phenomenally big hit for her in 1981. I think it was the biggest song of the year. If not Physical, then Betty Davis Eyes. They were both really big hits that year. They were at the top spot on the Billboard charts for weeks and weeks on end. And, of course, she had Heart Attack in 1982, another big hit for her. That was like another top 5 song. Twist of Fate also followed. And so her career, kept going. And she won Grammy Awards, of course, for her singing career. She, made several appearances on The Tonight Show. Those, of course, also on YouTube. So she had a stellar career. She was, and, of course, how many people did not fall in love with this lady? How many people are not grieving the loss of her and letting people know that they had a crush on her and just what she meant to them and what a huge part of their childhood and their lives that she was. Of course, Olivia was diagnosed with breast cancer in the early 90s, and she really fought hard and battled against that horrific disease for years. She passed away yesterday at the age of 73. She was surrounded by her family and friends. She passed away at home in LA. And people are really feeling this very, very deeply. I know my sister was introduced to Grease in probably the early 90s, maybe the late 80s. But when we got Grease on VHS, she watched it every day after school. Every single day after school, she would watch Grease. So Olivia affected and impacted her life as well. So we just want to take the time to just, pay tribute to Olivia and to just share some of our memories of her, some of our childhood memories that include her. Some of the happiest days of my life involve Olivia, watching Grease and listening to the soundtrack. And of course, You're the One That I Want, her duet with John Travolta from the movie, a number 1 hit in 1978. I wore that song out on my album. You can't even play it today. I mean, it scratches, it skips and pops so badly, it's so scratched up. I wore that particular song, I wore out the whole album, but I wore that song out in particular. And so now it barely even plays. I mean, that when I first bought the album, that was the very first song I wanted to listen to. And I can't count the times I played that song. And, again, Grease, such a fun movie. In college, I don't remember what the project was, but we had some kind of a project to do. So we have an assignment, and I compared the characters of Grease in Grease of Sandy and Rizzo. Of course, I got an A. And that was really fun to do, to be able to incorporate my favorite movie into a college assignment. So again, Olivia and Grease, followed me pretty much all through my life since I was 7 years old. And they're still very much a deep part of my life today. The memories of that time, of seeing the movie for the first time and falling in love with it and falling in love with Olivia, seared in my mind, seared in my heart. And, her passing has really hit us all pretty hard. It's really something that we're still processing. It's so sad. She's such a sweet person. Everyone who ever met her said that she was just adorable. You could just tell she was this darling person, really just lovable. You couldn't help but like her. And she was just as beautiful on the inside as she was on the outside. So this episode will not be too long today. But we just, again, couldn't neglect to pay tribute to Olivia Newton-John, because if anyone is a big part of our lives, of our childhood, of our formative years, it's definitely her. And there's so many good stuff on, so much good stuff on YouTube. You can go and just really pay tribute to Olivia and enjoy the incredible legacy that she left behind just by going to YouTube alone and listening to her music and watching her TV specials. And of course, watching Grease. That's always a fun thing to do. Don't know how it'll be to watch that now, though, I must admit. I don't know when I'm going to really fill up to watching Grease again at this point. That's going to take some time for me. I can't speak for my sister, but for me, it's going to take some time. It's not up to that right now. But, we thank you so much for joining us and, for partaking in our tribute to Olivia. And Olivia, we love you so much. And we will never forget you. You will never be forgotten. You will always be a part of our lives, always be a part of our memories, our formative years, and that soundtrack of our youth and of our lives in general. So that will wrap up this episode of Two Sisters and a TV. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back with a brand new episode either this weekend or next week. And until that time, we'll see you all then.